Hey guys, it's Katie here with Life in the Mundane. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about how to engage your children with read alouds, how you can really help your children enjoy the process of reading aloud to them, and how you can do that, especially if you have reluctant or resistant learners. And so I'm excited to jump into some tips and tricks for you guys. So let's get started. So let me break this down for you. I had this vision of being a mom, and I could not wait to be a mom. And then I brought home my son, my oldest son, first time mom, brought him home, and I had these visions and these daydreams of being this great mom and sitting down and having tons of time of reading aloud to him, picture books, board books, even as a newborn, sharing this love of reading with my child and this love of learning. And that didn't happen at all. I was overwhelmed, I was tired, I had a lot of trouble breastfeeding. So yeah, first several months just flew by with very, very little reading aloud. Then you jump into the, preschool toddler years. We definitely had some reading. I'm not trying to say we didn't read to him at all, but we had some preschool toddler years and he became afraid of books. I'm not kidding you guys. I would pull out a book. I don't care if it was on a topic he wanted. I don't care if it was short or long, whatever. I would pull out of a book and he would run out of the room screaming. He had been exposed to books. We always had books accessible, but he had no desire to have them read aloud to him. He would look through them himself, but did not want anyone to read them to him. He has high functioning autism, and it was, a big shift in thinking for me. I realized, very early on that I didn't have it together as much as I thought I did, like most new moms find out. I also found out that I was gonna have to approach this kid differently. This wasn't gonna work the way that everybody said it was going to. So ideally, when you're developing this habit of reading aloud to your child, you're starting it young. You're starting it when they're really little. And if you've always read aloud to them, it just naturally will flow. But what happens when you have that kid that just doesn't want it? Maybe it's because of a special need. Maybe it's just because they're bored. They can't sit still. They've got ants in their pants. Whatever it is. There are a lot of challenges that we can face, and I have faced most of them with my children. I just now finally have a couple, 2 out of my 6, that actually genuinely have always enjoyed bringing me a book and sitting down and listening to me read for hours. But we've come a long way, and now we have read aloud time as part of our school day several different times in the school day. We spend an hour or more, my kid's begging me to read more, but that didn't happen overnight. So I want to share with you guys kind of how did we get from running and screaming when you found out mom wanted to read you a book to actually getting to sit for an hour and listen to mom read a book. So the first thing I would say, if this is a new habit for you or you're struggling with it, is to start small. You want to leave your kids wanting more. I struggled with this because I was like, oh, it's going well today. They're sitting and they're actually, not screaming and they're not flipping off the couch. I had 4 that were 4 and under, actually I had 4, 3 and under, for a little while. And so it was mass chaos in my house all the time. And someone was always crying or flipping or jumping off of things. And so there'd be times where every once in a blue moon, they would all be silent and still. And so I would want to take advantage of that. So I would read one more book. And kind of push it just a little bit longer than normal because they were doing so well. But in reality, I realized that actually did a lot more harm than good. And I should have left them wanting more, a little bit more. It makes them eager to come back the next day and do it, or, to do it later on in the day or something. So what I recommend doing is just starting out, depending on the age of your child. If you're talking about younger, 5 minutes. Just start with 5 minutes, and when 5 minutes are over, put away the book, even if you're not done with it. Just start really, really, really short. As they get older and as you progress, you can add and just, okay, maybe next 5 minutes went really, really well. And we did that for 2 weeks in a row. Now let's just up it to 10 minutes. And up it to 15 minutes, and up it to 20 minutes. Then at some point, you may not be wanting to add minutes per se, but you may want to switch to adding level of difficulty. So going from picture books to a little less pictures, to chapter books and things like that. So you want to give yourself the grace and the freedom to progress slowly, leave them wanting more, and always try to pick topics that are of interest to them. Now, when I had a kid that was running and screaming, it really didn't matter. He was way into firefighters and space and things like that, but it really didn't matter at all what topic I picked. He didn't want to read still. But a lot of times kids will be very topic driven if you can find something that interests them. Also, give their hands something quiet to do. And I remember hearing this tip as a mom of really little kids, and I was just like, are you crazy? That's just gonna add to the chaos. But it really is true. If you give your kids a blank piece of paper or a notebook and some crayons and, you know, color pencils, things like that, and just let them draw and create while you're reading aloud, you will have less fights and arguments. I did find, and I don't know if it was just my kids or what, but I found that like free drawing and getting to make whatever you wanted went better than coloring sheets a lot of times, because they got bored with the coloring sheets, or there would be fights over, I need this color for so-and-so's hair and stuff like that. Whereas if they were creating their own thing, it seemed to just go better. I don't know. Like I said, that might not be, you guys can experiment and try it out for yourself. Another one is Legos or Duplos, and or Lincoln Logs, things like that are fairly quiet toys. Having them build something while you're reading. Now, quiet toys is, you know, give and a take here. Legos are quiet to build with, but when you're stirring through a whole bucket of them trying to find the one piece, it gets very loud if you guys have not experienced that yourself. And so I would just encourage you to maybe give your kids a smaller container of Legos, just giving them a bowl of Legos versus giving them like a huge bucket, at least to start with, until they understand this process of staying quiet. But it's a great way to just keep their hands busy and their minds can last a lot longer. Another thing is understand that you are building a habit, and it's not about how much your kids are taking in. You will think in all the chaos, because it will be chaos for a while, you will think that nothing is being accomplished. They're not understanding or listening to anything you're saying, and this sweet, enjoyable time is actually a nightmare. And you know, it's just, I don't know, you're just gonna get frustrated, and you're gonna feel like you're spend way more time disciplining during that 5 minutes than you do actually reading during that 5 minutes. And that might be the case. That was the case for us for a long time. But the truth is, one, we were building the habit. I was setting aside that time to do that with my kids every single day, which was really important that I set aside that habit. Two, I was helping my kids understand what to expect. Hey, we're gonna do this every day, so you might as well figure out, you know, how to obey and listen and not have to have the same consequences every day. I had to be very consistent with my consequences with them if they were being disruptive or rude, and learn to give them productive things to do instead of always telling them, don't do this, don't do that. Giving them examples of what they should be doing and being realistic with those, age appropriate with those, and understanding that, you know, sitting completely still with your hands to your side and looking straight ahead when mom reads for an hour is probably not realistic and not going to happen. And nor should it happen. So giving them something to do with their hands, or allowing them to wiggle a little bit in their seat and move. I have some that can't stop moving no matter what they do. They even move in their sleep. I allow them to wiggle, but they have to stay on their cushion, because, you know, once we pass our cushion on the couch, we're in somebody else's bubble and it becomes a fight and bickering, and that is not allowed during reading time. So understanding, kind of experiment with it, see what works. But once you figure out what you want to use as your standard, be consistent and always giving the same consequences, and always, you know, pointing out the same things. Be realistic with your kids. So that's something. Understand that you're building this habit. You're setting aside those expectations for them. You are setting aside these expectations for you, and it will become more enjoyable. I promise. Even for the mom that doesn't feel like it ever will. For my son, if you guys are curious how we got there, we had to like really inch it a little bit at a time and a little bit at a time, and with a lot of help from his amazing speech therapist and outside help for him. We actually, we tried, you know, just 5 minutes, and that didn't work. So we went backwards and did just like 2 minutes, and that didn't work. And I couldn't even read the back of a cereal box to him. And so we actually realized that, you know, he's a screen junkie. He loved anything on a screen and was attracted to that. And while I do not condone this in general, it's what we needed for him. So what we started doing is recording me reading, or his speech therapist reading, on our iPad. So we would record just the book and mom voiceover and reading and flipping through the pages, and he would listen to that. He would sit there and he would watch that. And so we started with that process and having him watch it on the tablet, and then we would start by like pausing and asking a question. Oh, so did you see this in the picture, or what happened in the story here? And kind of getting him to engage naturally. And then it turned into, it eventually switched over to where it was like, okay, well, you know, the tablet's going to read the first 2 pages, but then mommy's going to read the last 3 pages. And we just kind of weaned him off of it to the point where he loved to listen to read. And he now sits down, he reads his own stuff. He loves to have me come and read to him. and is always eager to pick out the next book. And so it can happen, but it might take some creativity, thinking outside of the box. Also, along those lines, if you're looking for ideas for good things to read, I would say Read Aloud Revival is a website that you could go check out. They have great book lists on there, breaking it down by age and giving you kind of a synopsis of books that might be of interest to you. And then also Honey for a Child's Heart is also a great book and resource. You can check it out from your library or go purchase it. And it gives you a great breakdown again by age of what are good child-appropriate books that your kids might be interested in. I'm excited to read, and we just try to intermix a portion of fun and silly books and educational, historical fiction, classics, things like that. And I just think it's cool, and I just want to encourage every mom out there who is frustrated and feeling like you can't. Like, it'll never get to the point where your kids will allow you to read aloud for that long of a time. And just encourage you that it can happen. And also, don't stop reading aloud to your kids just when they start to read them themselves. That's usually when people start transferring over and they stop reading aloud to their kids once their kids can read themselves. It makes sense. But it really is such a special bonding time. It is so good. It helps your kids really understand really important topics. You can bring up super serious and important topics in a very lighthearted and fun way, or in a serious way as well. But you can get into so many good conversations that are going to help mold their minds and shape their thoughts on very important things going on in our world today. So I would encourage you to continue reading aloud all through high school even, and having that time with your kids. I hope this has been helpful to you guys. I would love to hear what you guys are doing. And if you like videos like this on homeschooling, home management, parenting, things like that, I would love if you would subscribe to my channel. Click the little bell notification when you'll be notified of new videos that are coming out. And I hope to talk to you guys next time.